can now move on to Ambassador Justin. It's really great to have you on this panel discussions. I've been also hearing that you're not only the ambassador of Australia, but also ambassador of climate change, if I'm not mistaken. So really good to see your enthusiasm to support the climate resilient growth in Cambodia. And the government of Australia has pledged to provide around 87 million Australian dollar for Cambodia-Australian Partnership of Resilient Economic Development, so-called CAPRED Program, for over 5 years. This is quite a big commitment that the government of Australia has made for sustainable development in Cambodia. So could you please share what are the priority sectors and strategy that this program will be investing in, and also where do you see big opportunities for sustainable and climate resilient growth in Cambodia?
Thanks very much, Shomi, and some aning up pipisa anglais prota pisa khmerរបស់ខ្ញុំមិនសូវគ្រប់គ្រាន់ទេចឹងសូមអភ័យទោស You're right. So we have a flagship economic initiative called CAPRED. We tend to use a few adjectives associated with CAPRED. We talk about inclusive growth, we talk about resilient growth, and we talk about sustainable growth. And I think all of those pillars are connected to climate. If we think of sustainability in particular, I mean, that has a number of dimensions. One of them is ensuring that we are protecting the environment for future generations. So the growth model protects the environment for our children. And then secondly, and crucially, that the growth model supports us both to mitigate and adapt to climate change, which is one of the most significant challenges, if not the most significant challenge, not just to the environment, but to our communities and to our economies. CAPRED is specifically focusing on 3 sectors. It's focusing on the agriculture sector and agro-processing. It's focused on infrastructure, primarily water and energy, and it's focusing on trade, investment and SME development. And all of those 3 pillars, have connections to climate. And climate, along with gender, inclusion, disability, are cross-cutting across that program. I'll mention a couple of activities that we're doing. It's not exhaustive, but just to give you a little bit of a flavour. So the energy sector. So we're working very closely with a number of ministries, but principally the Ministry of Mines and Energy, on energy sector policy, including how you can integrate variable renewable energy while maintaining a stable, secure grid and affordable energy prices. That's a pretty big challenge. It's one that Australia has gone through ourselves. We have been a highly fossil fuel dependent energy sector, but we are moving, by the end of this decade, 2030, the government's objective is to move up to over 80% renewables. So from, I think I'm looking at Faith in the audience here, I think in 2017 it was probably 82% fossil fuel to over 80% renewable in the space of 13 years. That's a profound transition. It mirrors some of the transitions that are taking place in Southeast Asia. So part of what we want to do is share our experience and lessons learned through that transition. Cambodia has made remarkable progress in connecting communities, including rural communities, to the energy grid. It's an amazing story, really, over the last decade. But there are communities who are not yet connected. So we're also supporting off-grid solar electrification to some of those communities. I mentioned agriculture, and that's a sector we've worked in for a very long time. So that's a key part of responding to climate change. We're doing that in a few ways. One, reducing waste in the agriculture sector. So you have zero waste business models. We're looking at how you use technology as well, which is climate smart, So I looked recently when I was up in Siem Reap at a rice chopper. So instead of, it reduces the use of fertiliser by essentially chopping rice stalks into small pieces which degrade into the soil, provide nutrients, so you use less fertiliser and actually you can plant rice more effectively. And we're doing things like supporting resilient crops. So last year we launched a variety of rice called Chompei So Chetsup, named after 70 years of Cambodia-Australia relations, which is more resistant to drought and flooding. You can plant it 3 times a year and has good yield. So the agriculture sector is going to be very critical. And the other area we're working closely under CAPRED in is water. So expanding clean piped water access, essentially through subsidies to private sector operators, to extend that out to communities, and looking at establishing with the ministry, supporting the ministry to establish a water development fund. So that is designed to secure and aggregate financing into the sector. So there's some of the things we're doing under CAPRED. I think the second part of your question was about opportunities. I don't want to speak too long, but there are, when we talk about climate change, we often focus on threats, risk, challenge, but I think there are also opportunities, and there are opportunities particularly in the energy sector, I think, here in Cambodia. We've heard a bit about transport, which is another sector, and we've heard about waste and the circular environment. But I think there are some good opportunities to harness perhaps a little more some of the natural assets that Cambodia has, and solar, and then it's solving that puzzle about how you integrate that effectively while maintaining a stable grid and delivering affordable energy prices for the Cambodian people. I think there are opportunities that come with a clean energy transition around skills development, job development as well. All of these things require investment, but in the medium to longer term are able to provide pretty significant returns. So I think there's an opportunity element in the conversation that we sometimes lose sight of, but that it's a really important one. Thanks, Chairman.